Keeping it real, Coach Ross coming off mute, where you can hear candid and real, true conversations with Coach Ross and her guests. Topics to be discussed are child support, ministry, business, homosexuality, relationships, and many of those other not so comfortable conversations that we truly need to have. Tune in to Keeping It Real, Coach Ross.
It's your time to come off mute. It's your time to share your story, experience, and testimony. It will inspire others.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Coach Ross coming off mute. It is our brand new segment for the brand new year. Woo, woo! And it is Global Book Tour Interviews. So we have a beautiful, dynamic young lady with us on tonight. And her name is Dr. Kisha Roberts-Tabb. Let me tell y'all, she is a firecracker. Okay, she's doing some amazing things in our world. You know, you all that know me know it's all about making a change, making a difference, leaving a fingerprint, an imprint on someone. And we all can do that one person at a time. Y'all know what I always say, as long as you got a pulse, you got a purpose. You got something that only you can do. So we're going to welcome her to the stage. Welcome, Dr. Kisha.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're with us. I'm so glad you're with us. So I want you to tell my beautiful audience a little bit about yourself. Tell us, who is Dr. Kisha?
So my name is actually pronounced Kisha. So
Kisha, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Dr. Kisha Roberts-Tabb is the Human Trafficking Specialist for Cook County Juvenile Court. I'm also I sit on a lot of committees around trafficking. I'm also the founder of the RTA Group. I also was the founder of Social Butterfly Foundation. The RTA Group is a consulting company that consult with both non-for-profit and government agencies around identifying trafficking victims, creating curriculum and servicing and impacting trafficking victims. And most recently, I'm the founder of Girls Night Out. This is our 4th year taking over the streets of Chicago, standing for those who find themselves voiceless and with limited choices.
Wow, that's what I'm talking about. Voiceless with limited choiceless. You know, that's the human trafficking, that thing there, you know, it's so much going on in our world. You know, I'm in Texas, and we found out that Texas is a hub for trafficking. And it's so crazy because, you know, I was almost in that situation. And so I can really relate to, you know, going through circumstances that get you into a place where you feel like you don't have a choice, and you find yourself in those things. So I thank you so much again for all that you do in our world. You know, it's a part of, I believe, a part of your calling, you know, because that's not something you just walk up into.
No, it isn't. And I didn't walk up into it. I definitely fell into it. I was definitely not trying to do this work. I was really just trying to feel good and donate some money to an organization. And sometimes you got to research these organizations before you write them checks. Because I wrote that check, and it's been my life ever since.
Wow, that is beautiful. So you when you donated to the organization, then you got involved with what they were doing.
So I donated to the organization because I knew a person that the founder, not the founder, but the director of the organization had worked with me. And so she knew the work that I had done with my mentoring program, which is Social Butterfly Foundation. And so she actually asked me just to help her fundraise. And so the way that she packaged it up in a nice big cute package, she said that I need some help with fundraising for an organization that I'm affiliated with, the Dream Center, and we have a farm for women.
Wow.
The women are there, they're recovering. You didn't say from what. So I heard recovery, and I said, okay, my mother was an addict. I'll be happy to donate the money to you if you don't mind, if you dedicate that space to my mom. She said, fine. So then I started getting pictures from the farm of these ladies. They asked me to come to the farm. I'm like, look, I just wanted to send y'all some money. I wanted to feel good and keep it moving. And then she called me and said, I'm going on a ride along with the organization that you sent the money to. Do you want to go?
Wow.
And that was the ride that changed my life. So I went to the 6 o'clock ride along. And by 9 o'clock, I was just so blown away that when it was time to get off the bus, I'm like, no, I'm going to the next one. And the next one was from 10. And we stayed out on the street that night from 10 to 5 in the morning. Wow. And I realized then that everything else that I was doing, I was just practicing for my purpose, because my purpose was on the street with them babies. And it was not. So I don't know how many people have been able to have the privilege of walking in purpose, but you know it. When God introduced you to your purpose, it's like introducing you to your first love. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. And all the outside noise, all the fear, all of that is just completely shut down, because nothing can remove you from God-given purpose.
Come on. That's it. You said it. And sometimes our pain birth our purpose.
Yes.
The very things that we go through birth our purpose. Sometimes, God allows us to go through it because he knows it's going to strengthen us to be able to, I can listen to what people have to say, but it's more effective when they've been through what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. Just tell me a little bit about, you have a foundation, the Butterfly.
So I had Social Butterfly Foundation.
Social Butterfly. So
that organization is no longer in place. What we're doing now is we created a curriculum around gender-specific program, gender-responsive programming for girls 13 and 18. So currently, instead of holding those groups, sometimes you think that something is you there forever, when it's really just to create the blueprint for everybody else to do it.
Come on now.
I'm very proud of the fact that some of my girls who actually came through Social Butterfly Foundation, now they implementing programs. And that's what it's all about. It ain't about owning it. It's about passing it. And so if anybody, Social Butterfly was probably the greatest thing that we did collectively, because it took 5 women. We came together and said, this is what I think our women need, and then we kept it moving. And we started that organization. We had 75 girls to come through that organization over the time that we were in place. We have a whole lot of graduates. We have women that's doing some amazing things, from Dancing with Debbie Allen.
Wow.
Programs. I have a young lady that's working in human trafficking. What's the odds?
Wow.
Your gift don't sit with you.
Come on now.
It's not supposed to sit with you. If it's really God-given, you're supposed to grow wings. You're supposed to grow wings. You're supposed to grow branches, and that person grow branches.
Yes.
I'm so proud of Social Butterfly Foundation, because it didn't stop with us.
Exactly.
And that's how I know it was successful.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And that's what it's about. You said it. It's a saying that they use a lot in when it comes to addiction. You can't keep it if you don't give it away. And it's the same way it is, when God gives you something, it grows by you giving it back out. It reproduces after itself, so I mean, that's dynamic. That's what I'm talking about. It's an amazing thing to see how God moves things, and then he bursts things out of you, and then it just continues. Every person that's affected, when they get their purpose, they stand in that place of purpose. It's a whole nother thing. Tell us, what is your passion?
My passion is working with women and girls in any capacity, but I'm really drawn to the work of human trafficking, sexual exploitation of our women, men, and children. So I don't know how much people know about human trafficking, but it's something that has been going on since the beginning of time. You can look in the Bible, you find trafficking. Clearly, it happened during the Middle Passage into this into these seas, and because of the adultification and the sexualization of Black women, it has constantly seeped into our communities, and we ignore situations of exploitation when it's Black and brown girls, because society have become so accustomed to the sexualization of those women. And so I have found it my purpose to change that and and allow people, bring awareness around domestic sexual exploitation in Black and brown communities.
That's it. You said it right there. And you touched on a little something, I'm gonna have to bring you back so we can talk about that. You said it even happened and started in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you started something right there. There's just that little piece right there. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for me?
So, when we think about sexual exploitation in the Bible, we go straight to Rahab, right?
Come on.
We go straight to her.
But
because that's what we were introduced to, and it made it plain with her, right?
Right.
So when you think about Sarah,
come on now.
When you think about Sarah bringing that young girl to her husband and saying, "I want you to bear him a child."
Come on now.
Now think about this situation that this baby was in. Hagar was in. She living under your roof. You providing for her. You providing her food. You providing her shelter. You get to dictate her comings and her goings. Where was her choice in that situation?
She didn't have one.
That room, she didn't have a choice. And by all means, all definitions, that's sexual exploitation.
That's
we
right.
don't see it like that because we have these different. And when you know better, you do better. Maybe Sarah didn't see it that way. But when you think about sexual exploitation by force, fraud, or coercion, anyone under the age of 18 are automatic victims. You cannot sell sex unless you are at the age of 18. Hagar was not 18 at the time that she was taken in the room.
Wow.
Two, force. Anytime someone is providing for you and they have the ability to take that provision away from you, it's force.
Yes.
And the third thing, when they no longer needed her, when her child became an option,
Jesus,
she was placed out on her own, which is why girls stay in these exploited situations, because they fear of losing the only thing that they know.
My God.
Exploitation, I don't know what is.
It is. Okay. Yes, you definitely, this is a 30-minute show, but that's that right there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, that's a whole nother look at that. You know what I'm saying? That's God. That's God. Woo! You done messed me up with that, but look. Okay, so
what is it? What else is it? I mean,
honey, it's you know what? It's black and white. It's clear. That you can't add to that. You know what I'm saying? You can't take away from that. That's literally what that is. But it's like you said, it's a part of their purpose for God to even show it to you on that level. I mean, I've read that, but I never saw it from that angle.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the scales falling from your eyes when you see it from that angle. Mm-hmm. So I thank God for that. That was a revelation. That was a moment for me. I don't know about nobody else, but that was a moment for me of revelation. Tell me, let's talk about your writing, your book in particular. I love it. I love it. I started reading, and I was like, okay, this is good. You are an excellent writer.
Thank you.
You have a gift in writing. Whose Little Girl 2? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know if it's a 2, it was a 1. Hello, yes. Somebody. So can you tell our audience about Whose Little Girl 1, and then kind of go on into Whose Little Girl 2 for us, if you don't mind?
I don't mind. So okay. Whose Little Girl 1 was actually birthed for a fundraiser for Social Butterfly Foundation. And Whose Little Girl 1 is a lived and observed experiences through the lens of three generations of women. And it was literally birthed to tell the story of a mother with HIV and AIDS and how that thing affected the relationship with her children and her children's relationships thereafter. And so in writing those, so I wrote 10, was it 10? I think 6. I don't know. I think it was like we started off with 6, we ended up with 10, and we put on a monologue. And so from that monologue grew, because I can't just tell a story of I can't tell the story of my mother's pain or my mother's struggle without telling how it lended to my strength and my daughter's strength and how I raised my daughter. And so that kind of grew into that lived experience. And my lived experience is my work in sexual exploitation. So one of the chapters, Sweet Thing, actually tells a story of a young lady and her fight through exploitation. And Lane actually tells the story of a young lady that finds herself in relational exploitation, where she's going from man to man to man because they got the money, they can keep her. And so we don't see that as exploitation. We see that as somebody that's finessing. But when you think about it, it's relational exploitation. If you giving more than you getting, if you got to give something to get something, it's exploitation. And so Whose Little Girl 2 kind of grew into an entire book around 6 girls and their pathways, their experience, and their way out of exploitation, and the doctor that was responsible for getting them out of that situation and why she was drawn to that work.
Wow, wow, and wow. I mean, Firecracker. That's, I mean, boom. Okay. You know what I'm saying? When you got it, you got it. You know, God is giving you your voice is powerful in itself. But you got something to say. You know, it's a lot of us talking, but everybody ain't got something to say. Right. You know, and I'm very grateful to God. I love your writing, and I'm going to read just a little bit of the prologue just for the listening audience. And we have a few people that's listening in. Sister Amanda Hare, thank you so much. She said, "Hey sis, you leave an imprint for me." Glory to God. And so thank you to everyone that's tuning in now, that will tune in later. I'm excited. So I'm going to read this. You said, "My grandma always said that looks could get them, but you have to do a whole lot more to keep them. I was really good at getting them, but keeping them was another story. I may not have known it all, but I knew how to catch me a baller, basketballer, footballer, hood baller. They kept me fly, and I kept them high. Trey would say I was like heroin, one hit and a nigga was hooked. That is until the next pretty young thing let him hit it." And the reason I read that is because to me, my self is on. My husband, I call him Self. He called me Self. "Hey, Self." He said, "Looking forward to reading it. You believe me, it's good. It's good." What I read that because I want people to understand like the depth of what type of writer you are. You know, it's a lot of people writing out here, but they ain't saying nothing. Just like I was saying earlier, when God is giving you a call to get messages out, to help get people free, it is so important for us to, as my show is, come off mute. Mm-hmm. It's so important for us to tell our stories. And so there's people out there listening right now that may be dealing with, you know, a sex trafficking situation. They may be dealing with, you know, being caught into something that they thought it was just a relationship, only to find out it was a sex trafficking situation. Mm-hmm. You know, what do you say to someone out there that is listening to us right now? You know, what are some of the signs to sex trafficking? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So one of the things that we have to always be mindful of when we think about sex trafficking, we got to get these myths, this white van syndrome out of our head, that there's a white van going snatching all the girls in the neighborhood and pulling them up and training them. That's not what it is. And unfortunately, when we see advertisement around awareness, that's what they show. But that's not really what we see in the work that we do. I've been the human trafficking specialist for Cook County Juvenile Court for the last 7 years, and I ain't never seen it.
Wow.
I ain't never went to no van and it was 1,200 girls. I ain't never did that. But what I do see is this young guy, this young girl that's dating this older guy. I see that this guy is finessing her. He buying her everything. He making her feel like she his main one. She the bottom. She is him and her against the world. And it flips when now I love you. And usually these young girls are girls who suffering from abandon, rejection. They come from, you know, homes where they're not being loved and no one's telling them that they pretty. And so now he in her ear.
Wow.
And he's telling her how good she look. He's telling her how fine she is. He's telling her all this stuff that she want to hear. And so once you get a person mad in their heart, your body just gonna follow.
Yes.
So once your body following, we talking about young girls, and one thing young girls don't understand is your body and your mind ain't ready for what you about to sit down and do, what you about
Come
to lay
on.
down and do. And so you're not equipped with the experience. You're not equipped with the wisdom. So when you get, when you get that thing and now everything is so good, you don't know how to do nothing else. You're doing everything they want you to do. And we live in a we have our society have come to a place where you get the man when you do the most. So sleep ain't enough. Oral sex ain't enough. Now you got to knock my man's down.
Wow.
And you don't know that my man's paid for this knockdown. You think you doing it because you love me. And I'm telling you, every girl I talk to, if you love me, you would. So for any young girl, when a man tell you, if you love me, you would, that run for the hills, because if he loved you, he wouldn't ask.
That's right.
That's right. If you love me, you would do this, you would do that. No, if you love me, you wouldn't.
Wow.
So anytime you see a young girl with an older guy, that's a red flag. Anytime girls are habitual runners, they're constantly in and out of their homes. First thing I always ask is, what are they running from? And second, who are they running to?
Yes.
A person that's in a situation where they don't feel that they can speak freely for themselves. They constantly looking for the person that they with to speak for them. Not giving eye contact, always constantly looking down, not able to give eye contact with you, because when you in the game and when you in this life of sexual exploitation, looking at somebody in the eyes, reckless eyeballing. So you've been trained not to ever do that. Look for tattoos that speak to loyalty, not to trust anyone, dollar signs, crowns, a queen. If I see a girl with a queen tattoo anywhere, I'm running to her. I'm trying to break her because she the bottom and she know everything that's going on.
Wow. Wow. So tell me, what do a mother and a father that has a child or a teenage girl that is dealing with some of these particular red flags, how do they get to go to getting their child out of that, without actually just literally getting them out of it? What can they do? What tools can they use to get them out of that situation?
Can I go a step further?
Yes, ma'am.
How about we keep our girls from ever entering that situation? Let's start there. Because by the time we got to get them out, it may be too late. So I think prevention is prevention is knowing your children, having conversations with your children, being transparent about who you were.
Come on.
Having real conversations about sex.
Yes.
Talking to your children about, what to look for, what not to look for. I literally had to call my daughter 2 days ago and tell her, get all your friends in the room. My daughter is 23. She lives in Iowa. Get all your friends in the room. We just found out that there's a ring going on from Iowa. So this is what I want you guys to look for. Having them real conversations with our kids. Stop being scared of sex.
Come on.
Because when you're not talking to them about sex, the first person that talks to them, they're intrigued now.
That's right.
They're intrigued. They want to know, because it's the secret. And me and we nosy by nature. Women are. So you keep a secret, we're going to do everything to get to the bottom of it.
Come on. That's the truth.
So that's where it starts. It starts in the home. It starts to pay attention when your daughter starts to change. Monitor all this face screen. Monitor what's going on in these phones. Stop allowing phones and computers to raise children. We got to be in their face. We got to be in their business. Stop worrying about whether or not you're doing too much. I'm supposed to do too much. It's my job to do too much.
Come on now.
That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be in your business, and I'm going to be true to mine, and I'm going to be in your business. Putting our kids in pro-social programs and knowing what it is.
Yes.
Knowing where you sending your kid, dropping them off, sitting there for a while, making sure they stay. But love, I cannot tell you, love and validation and lack thereof is the biggest pathway into trafficking. Wow. If you know you love that home, you're not looking for that from him.
Right.
So he can't just tell you, and can nobody just tell me anything? Now, I dropped my crown a few times, but I still had my daddy that, like, let me put this on because you done lost your way. We got to have that
Yes.
same vigilance when it comes to our kids today. We too busy worrying about being a friend. I don't care if you like me right now.
Yes.
Because I'm going to love you enough to keep you from this. But if they
Yes.
are involved, you have to be able to tell the authorities. You got to be honest. I can't tell you how many mothers, they don't want to tell everything because they, we're not blaming you. Half the time it ain't even about, you being neglected or anything. It's about you working. You got other kids. You're trying to provide.
Right.
It's not a blame situation. It's a situation where your kid lost their way.
Yes.
A lot of times parents, we don't want to tell what's going on because we're so afraid that it's going to look like we did something wrong. This didn't start with your kid. This is the oldest profession.
Come on now. Wow.
So being able to have those conversations, knowing who to contact, knowing that you can text Be Free 233-733, have a whole conversation with a hotline and let them know everything. Monitor who's picking up your kids and who's dropping them off. No license.
Yes.
Being able to give good information, because before you find out your kid is involved with exploitation, your kid probably gonna go missing first. They probably gonna be laid up with this guy, and we could prevent them from getting too far in if we know information around who he is, his license plate, being able to give descriptions and things of that nature.
Wow. I have a 15 and 16-year-old, and that's one of the things that, that's in the house. I have 6 children, but my daughter, which is watching, that's on now, my oldest daughter, I've always been very transparent with them, and the same thing you're saying. I didn't want somebody on the outside to tell them what sex was. I didn't want somebody on the outside, to do that. So when you talk about having those conversations, all of those conversations, and really, I call it getting in their world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
understand their language. You got to understand. That too. They could be talking in front of you. You don't know what's going on because you don't understand their language.
Exactly.
You wouldn't go to another place and not know how to say thank you.
Come on now.
You wouldn't go to another country and not know nothing. So that's the same thing with our children. And if you allow me, I have so my daughter was my editor. And so one of the stories that she said her favorite chapter is around Bria, because she said it really brings it home to how people get involved. And so I just want to do a little snippet.
Okay.
On Saturday, after leaving the beach, a group of kids and I stopped at 7-Eleven. With so many kids in the establishment at once, the store clerk became uneasy. He began to tell those who were not purchasing anything to leave. One of the guys refused. His stand started a huge commotion. The other kids began to knock items off the shelves, breaking glass juice bottles on the floor and banging the glass partition that was shielding the clerk from the mayhem. Soon the police arrived. We were arrested and charged with mob action and criminal damage to property. After arriving at the station, I refused to give contact information for fear of being sent back to the reservation before convincing my mother and aunt to allow me to stay in Chicago permanently. I had never been in trouble before, so my prints were not in the system. Little did I know that my refusal would land me 2 nights in what the other kids referred to as the Oddie home. I arrived a little after 8 p.m., processed and placed on medical. I was sent through a battery of medical tests and sent to a psychologist. The first night, I refused to say anything but my name. I was told that I would see a judge on Monday morning, and if I didn't give them information to contact my parent or guardian, I will be held until the next court date, which would be at least 2 weeks. Sunday, another girl was brought down from medical. I heard her tell the nurses that she was 3 months pregnant and was having a lot of pain. The nurse seemed very familiar with this young lady and even asked, "Wasn't you 3 months pregnant the last time you were here?" Soliciting laughter from all the other nurses. After her examination, she was escorted into the common area with me. She introduced herself, and we spent the entire night watching TV and talking. The next morning, we were taken down to court, and we sat in the holding cell. We swapped social media information, and as I stood stoically in front of the judge for the first time, I thought of my father. Was I destined to be behind bars like my father? The thought alone elicited tears, and when asked for information about my parent or guardian, I gave both my mother and my aunt's information in Evanston. Released to my aunt that day, I was convinced that she would never let me stay. The fact that my cousin was not with me left her untarnished. Later, I received a friend request from Kyra. We began inboxing, and later she invited me to a party. This young lady, if you continue to read, ended up in a sex trafficking ring, thinking that she's going to meet a girl that seemed like, she seemed like she was cool.
Wow.
Now imagine a day at the beach. A day at the beach being your pathway into sexual exploitation. We don't think about it like that. We think of these girls and these girls that, they just want to, they out here, they wow. And that's not always the case. And so for me, Whose Little Girl Am I Too is the truth about pathways. It talks about every single pathway. It talks about this young lady. It talks about a young girl being involved in the foster care system because her mother left her with a neighbor. It talks about a young girl who was being molested and left the home because she just couldn't take it anymore. It talks about another young lady that was longing for her father and just running, trying to get with her father. So there is no one pathway into trafficking. And the next time you see a young lady lost, don't make assumptions about how she got there.
Yes.
Because it's a story behind every one of them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think you done struck something in me spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a whole nother, I can't even explain what it did to me. But I want you to tell, what is your message to the world right now?
My message to the world is when you see something, say something. Stop turning a blind eye to stuff that you know is wrong. Stop watching these little girls going back and forth on these bus stops, never getting on buses, and never asking if she's okay. When a girl is constantly running and, she asks her why, where is she running to, and who is she running from? We got to start communicating with our children. That is my message for the world. When you see something, say something. Because a simple question may change the trajectory of a young person's life if you just ask, what's going on? What's wrong? Why?
Wow. I thank you so much for being on our show, and I definitely will be bringing you back. There's so many things that you just literally made my spiritual baby jump over here. I could talk to you on, and there's so much knowledge and wisdom in you that just kind of pours out. My daughter said, I am so interested in this topic. Wow. That's what my daughter said. Takesha, thank you for tuning in. Jayla Roberts-Coleman, is that your daughter?
That's my baby.
Okay. So your daughter is on and my daughter is on. So she's also said, speak on it. I know that's right. Kiana Jackson Curtis said true. So, they're identifying something. They say true. So we got some different ones that tuned in. I thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I thank you again for being on my guest on our show. And you will be back. I will have to have you back. I'm going to have to have you back for a full hour, though. We can't do no 30 minutes because this is a teaser. Okay? But they got a little taste of you, but we're going to bring her back again, guys. So everybody that's tuning in, thank you so much. And you guys, y'all stay tuned. I will be back with another show after this. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
My honor.